Senator Ludlam.
Thanks, Mr President. My question goes to the Minister representing the Minister for the Environment, Senator Conroy. How is the EPBC approval for the expansion of the Olympic Dam uranium mine qualify, as the Environment Minister suggested yesterday, as the toughest environmental conditions ever imposed, when the conditions are much less than those imposed for the Ranger mine here in Australia, by which I refer to the fact that the tailings at Ranger have to be buried in the pit and isolated for 10,000 years rather than 10 years, as is the case for the Olympic Dam expansion.
The Minister representing the Minister for Sustainability, the Environment, Water, Population and Communities, Senator Conroy.
Cruel, very cruel, George. Thank you. I'm going to thank Senator Ludlam for his question. The Minister for Environment has approved the proposed Olympic Dam expansion under national environmental law, imposing in excess of 100 stringent conditions. Minister Burke approved the proposed Olympic Dam expansion on the 10th of October this year. The approval conditions and the assessment report are available to the public on the Department's website. The Minister's decision was informed by expert advice on the assessment information by Geoscience Australia, Australian Radiation Protection and Nuclear Safety Agency and the supervising scientist. The Minister also took into account public submissions on BHP Billiton's environmental impact statement and comments from relevant ministers. The approval conditions require BHP Billiton to strictly manage or avoid any environmental impacts, not just during operations, but well beyond the life of the project. The conditions apply to all parts of the project, including the proposed desalination plant in the Upper Spencer Gulf, and will ensure that the Gulf and its marine life, including the giant cuttlefish, are protected. The measures that the company will use to achieve these goals must all be detailed in an extensive and thorough environmental management and monitoring program, which must be approved by the Minister before work can begin. Ongoing monitoring will ensure that any issue can be addressed immediately, and the program must be reviewed every 3 years to ensure it remains effective over time and take account of the latest scientific information. BH Billiton must also do a comprehensive review every 10 years to ensure they are using the best practicable technology to minimise environmental impacts and risks. The conditions require BHP Billiton to develop for Mr Burke's approval.
Time's expired. Senator Ludlam.
Thank you, President. I thank the Minister for, I think, essentially reading the Environment Minister's media release instead of a response.
Order. 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 Senator Ludlam.
Thank you, President.
Start again.
I'd be delighted to start again. My supplementary, Mr President, is how this approval accords with ALP policy and election commitments on uranium mining standards in the ALP national platform that states Labor will accordingly only allow the mining of uranium under the most stringent conditions and to ensure that Australian uranium mining, milling and rehabilitation is based on world's best practice standards, when the approval at Roxby Downs doesn't even meet criteria set for the uranium mining in the Northern Territory.
The Minister.
The Minister. Okay. Senator Ludlam, I understand, has criticised the approval, stating conditions around the treatment of tailing and waste rock are not at the same level as Ranger Mine in the Northern Territory. Ranger Mine exists in a different climate and operates solely as a uranium mine. Approvals for mines are not one size fits all, and it is the responsibility of the government to ensure the application of environmental conditions specific to the particular mining operation. Radiation management systems are required to protect members of the public and non-human biota that are consistent with Code of Practice and Safety Guide for Radiation Protection and Radioactive Waste Management in Mining and Mineral Processing, produced by the Australian Radiological Protection and Nuclear Safety Agency. The radiation dose constraint for members of the public must be no more than 300 300 microsieverts per year. And in terms of complying with the ALP policy, it is entirely consistent.
Senator Ludlam.
Thank you, President. I'll persist. My second supplementary is whether or not the Minister will confirm that this approval preempts that which is not yet sanctioned under Australia's bilateral uranium sales agreement with China, and that it will require a future nuclear treaty with China that is yet to be negotiated with China, or put to this Parliament's Joint Standing Committee on Treaties inquiry and thereafter to this Parliament, that may not even be realised.
The Minister.
Thank you. I'm sure the Senator would acknowledge that there was a fair degree of speculation and possibly even a hypothetical scenarios there, but I'm happy to take on notice to see if there's any further information that either the Minister for Foreign Affairs, given it moved into some of his areas, or Minister Burke would like to add.